Hi everyone, Michael Anfield here. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget, if you like this video, love it, give it a thumbs up. Yes, like it and share it around with your friends and family. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you want the notifications to be on, you got to click the little bell beside the subscribe. So today is meditation, and I talk a little bit about it in How to Create the Perfect Vegan Life. So get the book today. It's a very, very short, easy read. Even if you're not vegan, get the book. Okay, so meditation, I'm going to be explaining some very simple and basic concepts for people who don't really know what or how to start it or what it is. So meditation is basically trying to understand who we are as individuals so we can strive to not only help this world, humans and other animals, but to just understand who we are so we can understand our purpose and then create that purpose, individual purpose, and try what we can to better this world. So basically, the first thing that we want to do, or the first things that we want to do, is understand that meditation is trying to understand who we are. Okay, this is what I refer to and what is referred to as self contemplation or self inquiry meditation. And this meditation is just one of the meditations that you can work at. There's various ones, and in my book, I talk about several techniques. And basically, what you want to do is you want to create within you a more positive environment. So that is what you want to try and do, is not only understand who we are as individuals, but to create a more positive environment. Now, you're not going to meditate to create a worse environment or to create a bad environment or situation, but to create a better environment. So, for example, let's say you are, um, I don't know, having some kind of stress in your life with your work, for example, with your job. And so we need to meditate in order to try to relieve that stress. Now, stress can also be relieved in many other ways, like positive thinking and positive thinking action. So when we meditate, we can meditate in many different ways. Now, I'm meditating by sitting on the bed. You can meditate that way. You can meditate with your legs crossed. You can meditate standing. It's better to meditate with one's eyes closed in a fixed position. Now, you definitely can meditate, or at least be mindful, more or less mindful, when you are about walking around in nature, wherever. But you gotta make sure, of course, that your eyes are not closed, because, of course, if you're on the street and they're closed, you might get into an accident. Common sense. So you're sitting here and you are, with your eyes closed, you are meditating. Now, when you meditate, you remove all abstractions, okay? You remove everything from just everything. Like, you want a clear mind, basically. So, what I've learned is that there's a meditation where you actually meditate from nothingness. So, you just meditate and there's absolutely nothing in your mind, and then you see where that leads to. Now, you can meditate also on nothingness, but just meditating on nothingness. And what that does, it really calms the mind and the heart. So whenever you meditate, breathing in and breathing out very slowly. And also clearing any negative thoughts within you. any thought that um, in that matter. When you do this, then you are ready to really to begin to meditate on ourselves. So who am I? So this is what I focus on, and this is what I teach, is self-inquiry meditation. So who we are. So how do we actually meditate on who we are? We just have to meditate consistently on this notion, who we are. Now, I don't meditate always on this notion of who am I. I meditate many different ways, as as I talk about in my book. So there's several meditations that I actually practice, but the self-inquiry is what I really focus on, and I've been focusing on that for like 15 some years. So you breathe in and breathe out slowly, deeply, and you try to understand, basically, try to understand ourselves and who we are, okay? And see what comes out of it, okay? So you sit, you can cross your legs if you want, and sit this way. You can sit like this, all up to you. There's really no wrong way to do this. You can sit on your bed like this and meditate, whatever, but the preferable way is to sit and to meditate. Now, people say it is not good to sit for a very long time. So if you meditate for a very long time, I would really suggest to stand actually meditating. If you get tired, of course, then you go back to the sitting position and then alternate that, from sitting and meditating. Now, I recommend that you don't meditate, too long of a time, because you want to be able to be flexible and active throughout the day. So you don't want to meditate too long. Supreme Master Ching Hai recommends 2.5 hours per day. You can include some of that in the morning and some of that at night. So let's say an hour and an hour, so that's 2 hours, and then let's say in the afternoon time, sometime half an hour. So you can do that, for example. It really depends. Sometimes I do a few minutes a day, and sometimes there are times when I do like hours a day. So it really depends. But if you do more than like 2 to 3 hours, you should really strive to do that throughout the day. So again, a little bit in the morning, a little bit at night. Um, Meditation, just one note, meditation and praying are very similar things, but they are, I actually do pray more than I actually meditate. And I got into praying more once I started reading the Bible. And though I'm not, of course, I'm just a student of the Bible, by no means am I religious, and I do not agree on everything that is in the Bible. So there are a lot of very good, um, very good passages in there, and there are some that are not so good, and some that I just didn't read. But I did read a lot of the Bible, so I know a lot of it. And so praying is more like talking to the universe or God, and 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 just talking with your higher consciousness, because God and universe can basically be also known as your higher consciousness. And it is different because meditation is just feeling within you the mind and seeing within your mind and heart. But praying is really like talking. You can pray, of course, silently, but praying is generally talking to the higher power. So it's a little bit different. But when we meditate, You can, again, whatever position is comfortable for you. If you want to just sit on um, a bed or a chair, or kneeling on the floor or your bed, whatever it takes to practice meditation. Okay, so again, you close your eyes and you start, clearing all negative thoughts from you, any emotions that come to you. Don't hide any of these emotions. Don't suppress them, but embrace all these emotions. If there are any negative emotions, try to clear them and just continue. It's pretty simple. And for people that are very in the very, very beginning stages and they don't know too much about meditation, but what we've got to do is when we first start to meditate, let's say I'm starting to meditate, I'm a beginner, I don't know what to expect with thoughts and things. And the whole problem is people's minds are racing all the time. We're racing all the time, going to one place, going to another place. So the first thing that we got to do is get rid of all thoughts of anything that is external. Any thoughts of any external thoughts, get rid of it. Get rid of your problems with your kids, with your grandkids, with your job, with your friends, with your life, with money problems, any issues that you have, get rid of all of that. And that is going to be hard. And sometimes we can't even sit and can't even concentrate. We keep on thinking of these problems because that is our society. Our society wants us living in fear, wants us living in this rush, 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 rush. Go here, go there, eat while on the run, and all these things. So you want to be calm, and that is the thing in life: is we want to be mindful and calm at every moment, or at least majority of the time, and to strive to keep this balance. So when it comes to meditation, we have to set at least a few minutes a day. I would say at least 5-10 minutes in the morning and 5-10 minutes in the evening or night before going to bed. And we should meditate. We can even meditate while we sleep. Think about, meditating in our mind. So meditating basically is removing anything and everything from our minds. And now we're ready to begin to meditate. Now there's two main ways to do this. The main way is self-inquiry meditation, as I discussed. So thinking about nothing and then getting into this, who am I? And who am I? Meditating on who I am and keep meditating on this and trying to understand who we are. This builds on a foundation so we can understand what our purpose is, or at least what our goals are that we must achieve in our lives. The second thing is just meditating again on nothingness, but nothingness, and see where that leads to, because there's two different types of nothingness meditation. And that is, one is just meditating on nothingness and keeping that stance, that mind, and starting to meditate on nothingness, but then seeing where it leads to. So this is a good thing for beginners, meditating on nothingness and seeing where it leads to, because this way you get rid of all your thoughts, and then you come to understanding, realizing who you are, or just anything, whatever comes to mind, comes to your mind and heart. So when we anytime when we exhibit emotions, negative emotions, we must turn those into positive emotions. So for example, let's say we're I don't know, meditating on nothingness, and then we again come to our thoughts about our jobs, for example. So let's say it's a negative job. Oh, our bosses are, you know, stressing us out, and we got very little time, and my job is awful, and create positive affirmations about our jobs. Okay, so if you say your boss is he's an awful boss, whatever maybe that's coming to your mind, anything negative, you just reverse it and think something positive about that person, or positive at least about that situation. So let's say, okay, your boss is giving you so much work, he's very bossy, and he or she, uh, I don't know, um, always giving you so much work. Okay, so you got to translate that into something positive. So thinking about something positive about that person, let's say something positive about those people. Well, they're the reason that you're employed, first of all. So that's a benefit. That's something good. So that's basically like gratitude is what you want to talk about this person. What are the what is the positive qualities of that person, or what is the quality positive qualities of that job, or what is the positive qualities of that situation. So let's just say, um, I don't know, could be, my kids and my grandkids, they're stressing me out. Okay, they're giving me a lot of stress. So first of all, we create all of the events in our lives. We create all the events in our lives. We think events events are external, but they're not external at all. We just see them externally. But all the events, everything starts from within ourselves. And a lot of people can't grasp this notion. They don't understand it. They don't believe it. And they just think everything is external. Everything happens externally. And that's absolutely not true, because when we create positivity within ourselves through our minds, so when we see every situation as a positive situation, I mean, maybe in the beginning of the situation or the event, it may be, a negative situation, but then you get back on track, and we focus on positivity, and we focus on how can we learn from this situation or event, and how can we fix it. And no situation, no event, no person is a negative situation. So our kids did not do this to us, our grandkids did not do this to us. We don't have a stressful life because everything is starting from a blank slate. Just like a movie, you start, if you're a filming director, you start with a blank movie canvas. There's nothing in the movie, absolutely nothing. There might be some ideas or some things like that we may have, but there's absolutely nothing on the canvas. In fact, nothing even exists in this world. Everything is just externally visible and externally happening, but nothing is um, nothing really even exists. If you think about it, we create all of these to happen. For example, the chairs over there, and even though the chair physically is over here, I can choose to put the chair somewhere else, and then that movie, or that movie which I call, it's a life, my life, but basically I call it a movie. But basically, the movie now, or the life now, is different because the chair is somewhere else. Just like if I sell this computer, then something happens within my life, and then from there something else happens. If I decide not to sell it, then another thing will happen. So it's like those books. I don't know if you remember those books where you I can't remember what they were called, but basically when you read the first page, it'll tell you oh, do you want to like go to page 5, or do you want to go to page 10 instead and do this or do that? So it's telling you, if you do one thing, it's going to take you on this path, and if you do another thing, it's going to take you on this path. So let's, if if the kids and grandkids are causing you stress, let's try to, change that around. So we're doing all of this, mentally and spiritually, when our eyes are closed, meditating. Okay, basically. So our kids and our grandkids are stressing us out. Now, what about the situation is stressing us out? How can we rectify the situation? Because we can change the whole situation. We are the creators of our lives. Okay, we can change that whole situation. Now, of course, the universe, God, higher power, whatever, um, has a, has a like a set kind of journey that we are on, but we can change some of that. Okay, so we do have some free will. I'm not saying all free will, but we do have some control of our free will. So let's say they stress us out because they always seem to have problems in their lives. Okay, now we've created, for example, this situation. We create everything in our lives. Nobody else creates these problems. We create these problems. We create these problems. Okay, so everything that is external, we create those problems within ourselves. It's somewhere deep, buried deep within ourselves. So if we are stressed out about our kids and grandkids, we created those problems. They did not create those problems. We created it. And we can edit or alter those situations to make them a positive situation. So before we start to analyze it and start to create positive situations from those events, what we're going to do is we're going to understand that no matter how bad a situation or event might seem to be, we can actually uh, create our thoughts, our hearts. We can create positive thoughts, and we can see these events in a positive light. Just understanding that there's always something that we're going to get out of it, some kind of a learning lesson. Okay, we might not understand what the learning lesson is, but there's always some learning lesson. We can always turn that negative into a positive. Okay, so let me give you specifics, for example. So let's say they just stress us out, and I don't know, they don't listen, and they just do whatever they want, and they're causing a lot of chaos within your life. Okay, so there's a lot of things happening. The kids are always asking for money from you. The grandkids are always asking for things from you, maybe junk food or something like that. They're always fighting, let's say. They never listen to you. All these things, okay? So let's analyze this, and this is a big, actually big situation. So this is going to go all within our minds. Now we can actually accomplish this even without meditation, but meditation is good to be calm and whatever. But we can do this also just by thinking about these things. First, we have to understand that this situation is a learning experience, okay? And there's always something positive coming out of this learning experience. Now we can change that event or situation at any time. So if we want to continue to see it as a negative situation, we're going to continue seeing it as a negative situation, plain and simple. Just like if we always have this fear mentality that something's going to happen to us or something's going to happen to our kids, we're always going to have this fear mentality. So we have to switch our beliefs, switch our thinking, switch our thoughts to more positive um, thoughts. So how do we do this? It's just like the affirmations about loving ourselves. We have to love ourselves and keep repeating these affirmations. I love myself. So keep switching from negative to positive. But how do we do this if our thoughts and our minds and our lives are consistently in fear and negativity? How do we get rid of all this stuff? Well, first of all, it really comes down to a few things. Number one is first we have to unconditionally love every creature on earth. We need to love everyone unconditionally and keep bringing in more creatures into our sphere of compassion. Okay, understanding that the suicide bomber and the killer over there, we gotta love them, even though their actions are not aligned to what we really want to see in this world. So it's not the person themselves, but it's the action that we're not fond of, but we love them, the people. So that's number one. Number two is get rid of everything fear-based. Get rid of media, anything that's fear and violence-based. A lot of the movies are violence-based. A lot of the media, violence-based. A lot of the music, violence-based. So get rid of it. Get rid of media, get rid of mass media, get rid of news, get rid of everything in your life that is fear and violence based. Now it's not going to be possible to do it, the next day, to do it right away, but slowly as time goes on, you want to get rid of these distractions from our lives, because the more fear, the more violence we have in our lives, the more it affects us and the more it affects our events in our lives, the situations in our lives, and so we want to get rid of them. That is why I'm a lot of times and most of the time happy and loving person, because I embrace all these concepts, embrace positivity, embrace love as much as I possibly can. So another thing that we can do, another tip, is to set time to calm our mind, set time to meditate. It's very important to do this at least a few minutes a day, again, like I explained. Um, so to the let's go back to the situations, the negative situations. Now, again, we can create see these events as negative, or we can see these events as positive and transform them into something positive and understand. Okay, so let's say grandkids don't listen to us and they always do their own thing. They're always taking junk food and candies, that they're not supposed to have. So first of all, number one, get rid of all junk food from your house. Don't have any junk food. And when I'm talking about junk food, I'm talking about candies, chocolates, everything that's junk food, okay? Get rid of all animal foods also, so they do not eat anything unhealthy. Go vegan, first of all, that's number one. Get rid of all animal products. Get rid of all junk food from your house. Have nothing there junk food. That way they absolutely cannot ask for anything junky or animal foods because you don't have it. So that's number one. Number two is let them do whatever they want. Now, some people might not agree with this, but let them do whatever they want. But try to teach them as best as you can about love, unconditionally loving every being, and set example. Be calm, collective, cool and collective. Don't be rushy all the time. Don't eat rushy. Have them, help in with cooking, preparing the meals, all these things. Get them involved with whatever you're doing. If you're sewing, get them involved with sewing. If you're cooking, get them involved with cooking and preparing meals. All these things. So that way they learn, and they learn from your experience, your setting of example. Let's say they're fighting all the time. Get them to do, uh, first of all, if you're telling them to do something, don't tell them as in, What I've learned from a friend is that you should never use negative words when speaking to children or grandchildren or anybody. Um, like, for example, do never say, no, don't do this. No, don't do that. For example, if someone is playing on your computer, like grandkids are playing on your computer, for example, and you don't want them to play on the computer, you don't say, don't do that. Please don't do that, because that is a negative, and people don't tend to uh, flare well when people say negative things to them. No, 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 don't touch that, don't do that, don't, you know. So we have to transform that into positive words. So instead of saying, no, don't touch that, say it in a different way, even if it might not sound positive, but a different way so it doesn't sound too negative. So for example, just tell them, I have very important information on this computer, and if you happen to use it, and you may delete something. So, something in that realm, instead of saying like, no, don't touch it, or no, don't do this. Now, sometimes they will not listen still, even if you say something. And what I tend to do in that case is just tend to teach them calmly, and instead of saying, guys, don't fight, just say, when you are fighting, you might get injured and badly hurt, and you don't want to cause unnecessary suffering to your brother, for example. So um, let's compassionately play together some game or something, instead of saying, no, don't do this, say it in a different way. And the thing is, we're trained, we have these thoughts that, and these actions that just automatically go to negativity. It's like, no, don't do this, no, don't do this, and we can change it and create more positive sayings for kids and grandkids and anyone who we happen to talk to. So for example, if somebody says something to you and you feel that what they said is not true or not accurate, you don't say, well, no, I don't think so, I think it's this way, for example. You don't say that, because right away they have already their opinion. They said opinion. You cannot say anything otherwise because they have their set opinion. So what you say is just, this is what I feel, this is what I do, this is how I live my life. So you, for example, if they say, well, animal protein is so vital for our bodies, and that's why I'm continuing to eat animal foods, then the response will be, that's crazy. Uh, Animal protein is too acidic for our bodies. We can't utilize animal protein. Instead of using that method or that response, instead say something like, as soon as I cut out animal foods and cut out animal protein, I felt so much better. Uh, I mean, in the first few weeks, our bodies are transitioning and are cleansing, and so we have to understand that we're cleansing, and so we might feel bad for the first few weeks, but overall, I felt so much better eliminating animal foods, and so that is a better response. Telling about our experience, okay, our experience of not eating animal protein, for example. Um, I guess that's about it. This video is already becoming almost 35 minutes in length. So that's a little bit about meditation, positivity, all that stuff, and the good old self-help videos for your enjoyment. Don't forget to like this video and share it around with your friends and family. I know it's been a long one, but it's been an informal one. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and click that bell if you want notifications. That's about it. I love you all. Thanks and see you later.